It's alive. It's alive!
Actually, I'm not an it. My name is Wildavakis. I have a name. Thank you very much. Whew! Oh my god. Is my hair good? Do I still look good? Any makeup?
You asked for this.
It's movie night with Wildavakis, special guest J.Graham, and a mystery guest. Oh, main theme by Here Come the Mummies. Additional music by Adam Richard Clifton in the Millsboro Music Symphony Orchestra. And because hopefully Albie will be back next week, here's your host, Mr. Wildavakis.
Hey! Welcome back. It's been a while. I've missed you. Hopefully you've missed me just as much as I've missed you. Look, I'm sorry. I feel like I've dropped the ball and let you down. I haven't done many episodes lately, but we're going to fix that. Welcome to the new season of Movie Night with Wildavakis. That's me. In case you didn't know, if you're just joining us for the first time, hey, welcome to my humble abode. What do you think of the place? Yes, we got a brand new talk show set, which I'm really excited about. And I want to tell you about it really quickly. I want to thank Don Fox, Wendy Schaefer, Andrew Seiler of Fox Theaters. There was a loss recently in the family. And we lost Sun and Surf Cinema in Ocean City, Maryland. A staple in Ocean City for over 50 years. And let me tell you, that theater was amazing. And unfortunately, it shut down. But because they shut down, I gained all this. And you know what? They were nice enough to not call the cops on me when I was raiding their dumpsters getting all this stuff. So I want to say thank you to Don, Wendy, and Andrew of Fox Theaters. Sun and Surf will be missed. There will be a story on that. I also want to apologize for the lack of laughter right now. I'm actually doing a private show right now in front of my fan club. At least the crickets are making noise. So, if you could just... What are you doing? Ladies and gentlemen, my grandmother. Good help is hard to find sometimes. Right, Grandma? Yeah, well, we'll take what we can get. So, another thing I want to mention is this show. We have some great guests this season. That's right. You know, because of Mike Doyle of the Movie Raid. Now, if you're not familiar with the Movie Raid, let me tell you a little bit about it. The Movie Raid is a podcast where Mike Doyle interviews filmmakers, actors, special effects artists, just about anybody in the film industry or any artist. It's a very good companion to this show. So if you're a fan of this show, please go check it out on YouTube. I believe it's on Google, iHeartRadio. You just search it, you'll find it. And he's starting to update his show and make it a little bit more, easier to find. So check it out, Mike Doyle, the Movie Raid. Mike, thank you so much. And hey, Jimmy O'Neill, who helped us with this backdrop, who has always supported me. I just want to say this. Because of him and Mike, we are doing the movie night episodes again, and we'll talk about that later, why I stopped. But I want to thank them, and I want to thank you for joining us. And again, I apologize about the canned laughter that you're hearing. Okay, that's enough. The reason why we're doing that, we don't have a live audience. Back in the past, when we did the show, we would have, friends of mine, fans of the show, come out and actually sit and watch the show and clap and laugh and even boo. They would do that without having a gun to their head. I was acquitted of all charges, just remember that. God, it's so good to see you, and it's so good to do this show. It feels good being here again. It's been a while, and, well, let's get on with it. But first, I want to tell you about what I've missed. Camera 3. How you doing, baby? It's been a while. Oh. You're seeing somebody else. No. That's cool. I guess I can just go fuck my fat self then. That's embarrassing. You know what else I've missed? That's right. Headlines!
This week's headlines are brought to you by Millsboro Music.
Millsby Music is still our sponsor. That's right, you've guessed it. two things are probably running through your head. Either you love Millsboro music, which, hey, we do. I love Millsboro music, and I hope they love us. Or number two, which is the real reason, nobody will give us money. So, if you have lots of money and want to sponsor us, pony up the dough. We'll give you a good shout out. Millsboro Music has been a great sponsor to us. They've done a lot for me and for the show. And I want to just talk about them really quickly because I feel like it's fair. Millsboro Music is located on Route 113 in the heart of Millsboro. Okay, it's close to the Wawa. And they have everything you need. It's a one-stop shop for music. They give lessons on guitar, keyboard, and drums. They also sell instruments, and they have instrument repair. They also sell some other items, cords, amps, stuff like that. But you should go there and check them out. John Clifton and his son have been running that store for Lord knows how many years, and they're doing a hell of a job. And they support me, which is really, really important. So please, support them. Whether you're in Kent County, Sussex County, doesn't really matter. Go to Millsboro Music. And also, they're doing a giveaway. As a sponsor of the show, they're doing a giveaway. Here's what I want you to do. Because I feel like this is more movie motivated, I want to kind of reach out to the musicians located in Delaware. If you are a local musician, here's what I want you to do. Send me an original song that you've written. You could have written it back in the 80s, you could have written it back in the 60s, or you could have written it yesterday. I want to hear it. Send it to me. Send it to the movienighttalk@gmail.com, and I'll take a listen to it. The winner will get a golden ticket, and you have to take that golden ticket into Millsboro Music for a free ukulele. But you have to take it in to the store. So I'll email it to you after I hear the song. We'll announce the winner. You go there. Maybe I'll show up and meet you. I want to hear the music that you're doing. Anyway, let's get to headlines. How can we not get through news without our lead news person, Joe Pontillo? Joe, you there?
Hello, Will. It's nice of you to finally check in with me. As you can see, I am still in New York City, where you left me to die many months ago. But joke's on you, because I've only grown stronger since then.
All right, cut him off. We don't want to hear. Oh, that's too bad. We had some interference. Rats. Sorry about that, Joe. Let's get into our headlines. Grandma, seriously, the rats. We've already shown it. For Christ's sakes. Good help is hard to find. Actor Jimmy Wyngarde from Wigan posted this photo today on Instagram and Facebook. And, well, it's supposedly him holding a proposed haunted doll similar to the Annabelle doll from the Annabelle series. This is what I have to say about this. Hey, Rusty Apper. Finally know where all your hair went. The Scream series is under fire today because of all the dropouts and firings that went on this past week. Yes, that's right. 2 of the lead actresses are out of the Scream series, and they're hoping Neve Campbell and Matthew Lillard come back, which I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We can only hope, fingers crossed, that everything gets resolved. Maybe bring back the 2 actresses, the one that you fired and the one that dropped out because she was so busy. Either way, the Scream series has always been known as a series where you're guessing who the killer is. And in this movie, you're going to be guessing which actors are in the movie. That was a shit joke. We'll move on. There's a reason why we canceled this show. Black Mirror has been renewed for its 7th season. The show that talks about how technology can possibly ruin your life is going to come back. And the producers have said that this season is going to focus primarily on AI and how it's going to be taking everybody's jobs. God, I miss the studio audience right now. Guys, there's a new Karate Kid coming out. I just want to say, if you have a youngin' who fits this description, please email a headshot and resume to this email address. And you could possibly become the next Karate Kid. It's going to have Ralph Macchio, Jackie Chan, and there's no joke involved because I'll get canceled if I say it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the end of the world as we know it. Yes, that's right. The fast food conglomerate known as McDonald's has recently joined the streaming industry where you can watch one of your favorite menu items rotating in front of a hot lamp for 24 hours. Yes, prices will start off at $5.99 a month. If you believe that, you're stupider than you look. Now, I know what you're thinking right now. How dare you insult your audience? And 2, Will, do not give the richer any more ideas to get rich from. Wouldn't that be something if tomorrow McDonald's was like, we're doing a streaming service? You're terrible. I recently had the pleasure of visiting one of my close friends and a mentor. This is a very special story to me, and I want to share with you about a little friend I call Marcus Morelli and his Ski 19 films. He's in Greensburg. Check it out.
Down the road, across the street from a parking lot, sits one of Greensburg, Pennsylvania's most hidden gems. Yes, that's right, Ski 19 Films. I'm Richard Greenlee. Join me as we have a chit-chat with the owner himself, Mr. Marcus M. Hey, Marcus, how's it going, buddy?
The day was April 5th, 2021. I was out with Coco for her birthday. Came back to the office around 4 p.m. At 4:01, a minivan drove through this front window. It drove right through the front window. I thought the world exploded, but no, it was some shithead driving a minivan. Apparently he was on his phone, drifted off this road right here and through my front window.
That's interesting. But Marcus, where exactly are we?
Welcome to Ski 19 Films in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. Established 2 years ago. The company was established 10 years ago. It's my baby. It's my happy place here. Welcome. Come on, guys, let's take a tour. Come on in. Wow. I like movies.
Oh, that's great, Marcus, but how did you get into making movies?
Oh gosh, I always love movies. I always love creating, building tree houses when I was a kid. Creating something out of Legos was always something I always found joy in. Long story short, I broke my leg one summer, femur bone. I was laid up all summer, and I started watching movies, and I started to study film, and I started to love it. And I bought a camcorder. We recorded the tape. I edited from a wire into a VCR back to the camcorder, and I was like, this is fun. This is the only way to edit, apparently. No. And then it evolved and evolved, and like 20 years later, here I sit in my studio. It's a passion. It really is a passion. I love what I do.
Hey, why don't you show us around?
Ah!
Okay, you all right? You doing okay?
Okay.
Your arms okay?
Yeah, I'm
Wanna make
okay.
sure-
Jesus Christ.
We don't have insurance on this shoot.
Oh,
I just want to make sure you're okay.
I think I gotta go
You all right?
see somebody.
So, Marcus, what is this right here? Tell me about it.
We got a back studio here. We shoot some interviews, shoot some headshots. We shoot some little green screen action. 20% of our productions are back here. 80% out in the field, like literally just a grass field out there. We shoot at. This is the tripod. This is our main tripod. Kidding, that's our third tripod. Love this battery so much. I made a movie called The Takao Bitch Project, and it was like a year after the Blair Witch Project came out, and it was shot with a camcorder with like 4 of my high school friends, all voyeuristic found footage stuff. Didn't really have a plot, but we went off the Blair Witch theme, and it was awful. It was really bad.
And what did you learn?
I learned to keep going. I learned that, the best thing to do is create something, learn from your mistakes, or at least try to learn from your mistakes, and just keep going and going and going.
That seems like some great advice there, Marky Mark. Check out Ski 19 Films and the videos they create. Need a movie, need a film, need a video made? Check out Ski 19. I'm Richard Greenlee. Movie Night News, out.
Oh crap, the lens cap's on. Sorry, let's do that takeover. Shit, battery's dead.
If you're interested in checking out Ski 19 Films, check him out on Instagram and Facebook at Marcus Morelli. He's a great filmmaker, and he's done a lot for me in my career. Thank you, Marcus. When we come back, we will have the guest of the hour, Mr. J.Graham. Stay tuned. Welcome back! Thank you, guys. Please, I promise you, the show does get better. Just not right now. Thank you guys for not clicking off the YouTube channel. Those views really do add up and get us some major moolah. Grandma, how much money we made so far? 70 cents. You're shitting me. 70 cents. All right. Well, whew. Listen, I know that first beginning portion of the show was pretty tough to get through for me and for you, but I promise it doesn't get any better after this. So, I know what you're waiting for. The first guest, first episode of Season 3 Movie Night. You might know him from such fine films as Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, directed by Tom McLaughlin. He played the iconic Jason Voorhees, my favorite Jason Voorhees. A lot of people like that fella. What's his name? Kane Hodder? Who? Yes. Or you might have seen him in... Almost got the camera. You might have seen him in Highway to Hell, where he played Hell Cop and was a very interesting looking villain, but still cool. You might have seen him more recently in Friday the 13th Part Vengeance, or Vengeance Part 2, or Deborah Sue Voorhees' new movie, 13 Fanboy. He's a veteran of the U.S. Army. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Mr. J.Graham.
Hey, Will, thank you for inviting me to movie night. Good to be with you.
So, CJ, is it correct of me to assume that Friday the 13th Part 6 was your first movie?
100%.
Now, what was that like for you? It must have been like a whole different world, because weren't you running a nightclub?
I was running a nightclub, a 15,000 square foot nightclub, very large, give or take 1,800 people on a Friday or a Saturday. And Thursdays, I always had a hypnotist on stage, a form of entertainment, who would take the subjects out of the audience and put them under his hypnosis. And one time he decided to bring a crew in to video record what he was doing. He wanted to put together a VHS. Some of you might have to look up what that is, and take a look at a tape for his promotional purposes. But the company was called Reel Effects, REEL Effects. And they happened to have done all the spot work on Part 4. So their suggestion to the hypnotist, well, why don't we put CJ's big butt in Ted White's wardrobe? And sincerely, I came through the screen to scare the subjects, and the rest is truly history decades later.
So hold on a second. Who saw you? Was it Real Effects? Was it Tom McLaughlin? Like, how did you get hooked up with the production?
Yeah, I got a call a couple months later after they made the comment, we're going to cast you for Jason. And lo and behold, I did get a call to go meet Michael Nomad, who was the stunt coordinator, and of course, Tom McLaughlin, the writer-director. And then upon their green light, Frank Mancuso Jr. at Paramount Studios. And so I went through the interview process like anybody. I had no idea what I was doing except, hi, I'm J.Graham. However, I didn't get the part. It went to another gentleman who was a full-blown stunt man. And you got to realize I'd never been on a stage, acted, or never been on a camera, or never been set on fire, underwater. Those are all new things to me. So the gentleman got the job, and a lot of people, the one scene that's still in there is the paintball scene where you see the paintballs hit the midsection. Most folks just assumes I'm wearing padding. He was a little thicker than I, in appearance. And unfortunately, when that first daily came back, I think it was Tom, it may have been Frank Mancuso back at Paramount, said, no. And I got that call that weekend and said, you're casted. Tuesday, give or take one day, I was in Covington, Georgia, and I had assumed that role after that one. They just called it a daily that came back with the other individual.
Were you a fan of the Friday the 13th series?
I had knowledge. The keyword fan. I mean, I don't think anybody was a fan of B movies in 1986 when Top Gun came out. But I was a huge fan of Universal horror monsters and black and whites and Frankenstein, the Mummy, Dracula, Werewolf, and I was always kind of wow, that's really cool of all the makeup and stuff they had done. So when I got the opportunity and the call, it was just kind of a blessing in disguise. As I said, 3 decades later, we're having this conversation.
When you do a movie such as Friday the 13th, especially the sixth entry into the franchise, how different of a change of pace was that for you? I'm assuming very different.
You know, yeah, and I'm very diverse as far as what I do. I'd only been on the military a short period, and I was really kind of a can-do attitude. And when they put me out there, Tom was wonderful. Number one, he knew I was a noofer, but he embraced me. He kind of gave me the ins and outs of what he was looking for. And I think the good part is that I was raw, and I could take direction well coming out of the military. And he gave me a little bit, but not a lot. He just really wanted me to embrace it myself. But he was a fan of Universal horror too. So, the commonality of coming back to life like Frankenstein and the curiosity factors of the little girl with the daisy on the side of the river and the dots being connected in the brain as the movie progresses. I believe that was what he was looking for. And we just kind of connected on that.
So you like the Universal horror films. What is your favorite Universal horror film?
Well, I'm a huge fan of the Frankenstein, just because of how it comes back to life. And in theory, that's what we do to people now when we have a heart attack. We whack them with electricity to bring them back. So how far fetched was that back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s? And we actually do that today with defibrillators.
So playing Jason, you were covered in makeup. What exactly was that like? Was there any discomfort?
I guess you define discomfort. You power through it. It's a little bit of time to get into makeup. And the beginning of the movie, you wore the full, but as we got through a point, they cut the face side of it out because the hockey mask hid my inner skin, and then it just blackened me out. I felt like I was back in the military in the jungle. But the main thing is, yeah, you put that on your head and all the wardrobe, and you're there for a solid 12 hours a day. It's pretty sweaty mess when you get out of there. It's even hard for me to do it today, more so when I do a photo op in wardrobe with the fans at a convention. And sometimes I look at myself and say, man, how did I stay 12 hours a day in this? It's tough for just an hour to take photos with everybody. So you're younger, you have no thought of you know what you're doing at the time, and you're really into it to the point where it's a lot different as you get older. It's no different than when I was younger. I could tuck and roll real easy when I hit the ground, and now when I hit the ground, I go thump.
So there's something that's been on my mind, CJ, and I really want to ask you this. Have you ever thought about possibly reprising the role of Jason Voorhees in, say, I don't know, new Friday the 13th film directed by Tom McLaughlin?
Well, I can put it this way. I know the writer director Tom McLaughlin has written a new script a couple of years ago and had some conversation about it. I believe it's Jason Never Dies is what he calls it. And I know he's had conversations with me over the last couple of years, as he has on a podcast, talking about, he'd like for me to reprise. I'm 244 pounds. When I did the movie, I was 243 pounds. So, with the exception of this silverback gorilla on my face, I'm the same structural size. That's half the battle. But the other half of the battle is being able to do the physicality of it and give you, the fan, and the other fans a product of quality as good or better than I did in that film. So if I couldn't do the deliver of the product, I would not embarrass myself to do it. But it would sure be an honor, because I think part 6 was a good launching platform for the series. And the next one theoretically will be part 13. And to be able to give that platform and that performance again would be truly an honor.
Were you ever approached to come and reprise Jason for part 7, or maybe even 8 or 9, or any other film in the franchise?
Yes. Kane Hodder will tell you the same thing. Kane did 7, 8, 9, 10. And originally Paramount said, let's use the guy in 6. They were satisfied with the product and the deliverance of the product. However, Kane is a huge, huge, huge horror fan, and he was he wanted that part pretty bad from what he's told me. So he actually went to John, the writer director, who he had worked with before and had been very successful working for John, and had to convince John that he really wanted that. John had to go to Paramount and, of course, get the approval for the switch. So he did pick it up, but I will tell you, he's been a great ambassador over the years for the franchise. So for me, it's like, he worked hard to be where he's at. I don't know if I'd have been so devoted over the last 30 years that he has with the part, but it would have been fun to do part 7 because it was unexpected, and it was unexpected to get part 6.
So the movie comes out, there's a premiere. What was it like sitting in the audience and seeing their reaction?
Well, I got to be honest. The sad thing is I didn't go to the premiere because I was back in the nightclub business, and priorities were a paycheck rather than, quote unquote, a red carpet. But Tom, from what I'm told, and Tom has told me that it was a great reaction and well received. And again, I use the word launching platform because 5 wasn't as favorable. 4 was more favorable, and 5 did well, but the fans just kind of looked at it. But part 6, you got to remember, like I said earlier, part 6, the number 1 movie that year was Top Gun. So you have to take, in those days, it was considered, as it is, a B movie, and they didn't get much embracement from the fans. It was a little different than it is today, where now it's become just an iconic image. And if you say C.J. Graham, they'll look at you, might know who I am, but if you say Jason Friday the 13th, they know who I am.
Do people see you in the streets? And
Oh yeah, I've been through TSA at the airport and given my ID and had the TSA agent go, "You're not the guy that played Jason Voorhees, are you?" And I go, "Yeah." Oh man. And I said, "Well, Derek Mears?" He goes, "Yeah, you see the big guy back there behind me? A few? That's Derek." And he was calling Derek to the front of the line. So there are people that recognize you. I mean, this past week, I was in the Albertson shopping center putting my card away like everybody else. And a guy came across and said, "Are you C.J. Graham, played Jason?" I go, "Yeah." So you do get recognition. I've been to Universal Studios and have people point at me with their family as I walk by. "Hey, you're Jason." So those hardcore fans, they know what you look like without the mask, and unequivocally, they do know the mask.
were you ever approached to do another like iconic horror villain like Leatherface? Freddy was out of the question because Robert Englund was doing that and did a great job. But was there any other roles that were like kind of offered to you other than Hellcop?
Well, I turned around and did a movie called Highway to Hell. I played Hell Cop. However, in 91-ish, I didn't go to LA to be an actor or a stunt man. It just kind of dropped in my lap, and I took the ball and ran, fortunately for a touchdown. But knowing in those days, 6'3", 243 pounds, that's a little larger than Arnold Schwarzenegger on his best day at Mr. Universe, to be honest. So with the exception of Lou Ferrigno, we didn't have a lot of roles in those days with prosthetics and things that have come out since then, Predator, et cetera. So I went back to Las Vegas and went back in the casino industry for 25 years. Now that I'm retired from the casino industry, I have opportunity. And it's been fun because I've had an opportunity to pick up a couple films and do a couple parts here and there as a result of the Friday the 13th and the notoriety that the Jason Voorhees, i.e. C.J. Graham, brings to the screen.
So let's talk about Hellcop really quickly. Now, Highway to Hell, just so you know, because I know we don't know each other. I just saw that recently, like within the past couple of weeks, and I always saw the VHS cover like in the video store, but I was like such a chicken shit, I didn't want to rent it because this cover looked fucking frightening. And then you're on the back of the cover as Hellcop, and you see that with all like your face has all these etchings in it, like you look like a human version of the Necronomicon or something from Clive Barker's Book of Blood with all the hieroglyphics etched into your face. It was just kind of spooky to me. Did you audition for that role? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, I went in and auditioned, and again, I got the part by default. The gentleman that was going to do it, they'd already done all the prosthetics and spent, give or take, $100,000 on the prosthetics. And when he realized his face wasn't going to be shown, he wasn't going for that. So I went into where Steve Johnson did all the makeup, and I went into his special effects facility. And part of the part was, since the cast and the molds prosthetics had been made, they were looking for a character that would fit on the face, and it happened to fit my face perfectly. So with that being said,
Because
it
I'm
was in
assuming
and
that at
out, and
that
I had
time
the
you were back
job,
in the
and
casino
off
business.
to Arizona we went.
So how did you get
It
hooked
was a
up
very
in this
cool
movie?
role. I mean, the unfortunate thing is, if you ever looked at any films from Hemdale, Hemdale Films was very good back in the 80s. And then in the 90s, when this was supposed to come out, unfortunately, bankruptcy. I still have 10 of the original posters that were going to be distributed to the theaters, that's still in the box from Hemdale. But unfortunately, Hemdale bankruptcy in about 91, and the film never made a distribution. It sat on the shelves in the library until a few years back when United Artists, MGM, bought the library. So now it's had a distribution and actually a successful run. A lot of people are very fascinated by the Hellcop character.
What was like? So did you have any like inspirations that you like looked at, like maybe Frankenstein or something that you watched that you were like, okay, I'm going to take pieces of this and use it in this role? Did the director give you any feedback or kind of coach you through what he was looking for?
Same thing. The director had ideas, but the character being non-speaking and all of body language, the only good thing is since the prosthetics were glued to my entire face and my lips, that when I moved my forehead, my mouth and everything, it moved with me. But the characters have very similar references, unstoppable. And the thing about Hellcop is when you do get shot in Hellcop, you just go deeper down into hell, but you're back. Characteristically, it's about a boy and a girl, Christy Swanson, Chad Lowe, and they're going to get married in Vegas. And Hellcop is looking for a version for the devil, which is Patrick Bergin, who played opposite of Julia Roberts in Sleeping with the Enemy.
Were there any issues that came up on set? Like was it hot? I mean, oh God, what am I thinking? Of course it was fucking hot. You're in Arizona, you know? God, I'm stupid. Were there any other issues that might have popped up?
It was hot every day. Yeah, we're in Arizona, like Lake Powell, but I had to skip a lot of lunches because with the prosthetics glued right on my lips, couldn't eat anything because the oils would get in your lips and start to separate the skin. So I drank a lot of protein shakes with a straw on set. And then, of course, still maintaining the physical physique, I still had to be on set. It would take about 4.5 hours to put the makeup on for that. Every day, give or take, I'd be in there watching MTV in a chair, a barber chair, falling asleep. And they're gluing on my nose, they're gluing on my lips, they're gluing on my ears. The prosthetics was pretty intense. And Steve Johnson did an amazing job. And of course, he has a huge resume, just like Tom Savini. It's just masterful of what he's done over the years.
Yeah, Steve. I always called Steve Johnson the Tony Stark of special effects.
Don't they look similar too? Yeah.
He does. He not only does he look like him, he kind of sounds like him, and the work he does is very, equivalent to something that Tony Stark would make. I bet you he has an Iron Man suit somewhere in his closet, and he just roams around and goes to like Italy on the weekend or something. So what was it like working with Steve Johnson? He's a special effects guru.
No, I mean, one thing about the prosthetics, they were roughly a quarter inch in totality. So they were glued to your face, every eyelid, every lip, right down all the way. But the professionalism of Steve, number one, he was pleased because I never complained. And the same thing with Tom McLaughlin and Chris and all the people from Real Effects. I don't complain. I'm there to get a job done. They're paying me to do it. So I sit in the chair and I don't whine because it's hot or I'm uncomfortable or the glue hurts or I was never understanding of that. I just, came in and did my job to the best of my ability. So from Steve's working with me and his perspective, I can know factually that today, if I ran into him, he'd say the same thing. CJ just sat there, they put the makeup on, no complaints, went out and did his job. This is kind of how it is. I mean, anybody can get a job, but once you get the job, you better perform because if you don't produce, they're going to reduce. Real simple. So I went out, produced, did my job, and I walked away proud.
Do you have any specific memories from Friday the 13th Part 6 or Highway to Hell that you want to share with us?
Well, the Highway to Hell with Hellcop, like you said, you had these. I got an opportunity to work with a. He's kind of well known today. His name is Ben Stiller, and he's in it for about 6 seconds cooking eggs on the sidewalk. But I had the honor to work with his mother and father and his sister, but particularly his mother and father that were on set inside the diner, and that'll always be a special treat for me because of the caliber of the people they were. Ben, again, I mean, at that time he was a bit part in the film, and to watch him grow, which is amazing, and very lucky for him, and I'm very happy for him. It's great because you kind of watch him and you see all these different things in the museum and stuff that he's done, and you think, wow, I remember when he was cooking eggs on the sidewalk and I smacked him. So the Highway to Hell, that's one of the high points. And then, of course, Friday the 13th, just the iconic image that it's become. And as I said earlier, people may not know C.J. Graham or Ken Hodder. You can go to India, there's give or take 4 billion people there. Show them all a picture of Tom Cruise, they'll all say Tom Cruise. Show them a picture of C.J. or Kane, they'll shrug their shoulders. But if you flip it around to Friday the 13th, the hockey mask, they'll all say Jason. So the character may not be an A-list financial actor, but perspective wise and knowledge wise, everybody knows Jason.
So there was a question I wanted to ask you, and you kind of touched on it in a previous question, but I just want to ask you straight on. What was it like playing such an iconic character such as Jason in Friday the 13th Part 6? I mean, that's a very, very iconic character, especially today. It was back then, people dressing up as him for Halloween, but even now, like, what was that like? I mean, I'm sure it felt good.
Yeah, very true. And the thing that's interesting about it is it's such a commonality between fans. I had a person come up to me a couple of years ago and asked her what she did, and she goes, "Well, I'm a colonel in the Air Force." I said, "Okay, what are you gonna do with the photo?" So I'm gonna put it on the back of my desk at the office. Now, think about a full bird colonel, and you walk in, and all of a sudden you look in the back, there's a picture of Jason. So what an odd way to start that process of talking to your colonel. But when you go to a show where you look at the people, it's amazing how many people are into horror that don't really talk much about it. But as soon as you say Friday the 13th, I love Friday the 13th. I saw that with my mom, my brother. There's always historical value of how they were introduced to the Friday the 13th. And they may not, go buy them or rent them, but they know of them, they've seen them, their family knows about them, their best friends know about them. And you see people, something you wouldn't expect at a copy machine at work, and somebody says Friday the 13th, and all of a sudden there's a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like water cooler conversation
Yeah.
starter. Let me ask you, what's your favorite film?
Well, again, it's like everybody wants to say, what's your favorite Friday the 13th? And I always say sarcastically, well, isn't part 6 the only one they did? So I stay with that. But I will tell you, I'm very impressed with all the films that are out right now, the horror type movies and stuff, and I see, these people at conventions, and I'm very congratulatory towards them because they've been so fortunate. But the interesting thing will be, if you take Freddy, Jason, you take Leatherface, and of course Michael Myers, and they've been around for give or take 4 decades. And it'll be interesting to see if these films that are being received wonderfully by the fans are still being received in 2, 3, 4 decades. And that will be the ability to see if they really are as good as we think they are today. Because unbeknownst to us, I had no idea in 1986 that you and I'd be having this conversation in 2022. But as far as me, I love the older films, as I indicated. Those old black and whites, I have the whole set from Universal. And to me, you just start thinking about those. Friday the 13th and those are of similarity. I mean, I love Fast and Furious and all that. But listen, how many times can you jump out of a plane, land on a tank, do a somersault over to a Camaro, pick up a 50 caliber machine gun, and blow somebody away? That's really a lot of hard work, a lot of stunts, a lot of camera angles, a lot of computer enhancement, green screens. But you get back to the raw of Frankenstein or the raw of Jason or Michael Myers, you don't have all that special effects. It's just raw. And I mean that it's like when you think of Jason, Michael Myers, you look out in your backyard, you can see that character step around the tree. And you're in a world of hurt at that moment.
I'd always heard these stories like from various different people about like the vibe on set of Friday the 13th Part 6. Like everybody, cast and crew, it just felt like a big family. Would you agree with that?
Well, I'm going to make the assumption most cast, not all, but most get to a point of familyhood on the show because they see each other in their best and in their worst. But I will say today, I still see uh, Tom Matthews. I still see Darcy DeMoss. I still see Tom McLaughlin and some of those at conventions that I do and do photo ops with them. So I'm fortunate to say I still have friendships with a lot of people from that film from over 3 decades ago. The cool thing that I will say is at the time, to be fair, I didn't really know much about it. You got to remember, I was truly a novice. So I didn't understand what it meant. And in those days, the principals of the film are usually the actors and actresses. The monster was never really perceived as a principal. They were an afterthought. In today, now that we all look towards it backwards and forwards, Jason has become the principal of the film because it doesn't exist without Jason. It's no different than you look at Frankenstein. If you don't have Frankenstein, it doesn't matter what you have, you got to have Frankenstein. But it was fun because I got to work with these principals, and again, I get to see them today. But again, it's been a blessing because they do laugh at me now because they would say something to the effect, well, they'd ask me to put a mask on. I said, heck no, I want my face to show. And then here I wear a mask, and 3 decades later, everybody knows Jason. There was a lot of people in these films that have been killed by name, with the exception of maybe Kevin and
Yeah, like Crispin Glover.
Pardon me?
Crispin Glover.
Yeah, with the exception of a few names, most of them are just there, but they always remember Jason. Not which one, just Jason as a character.
What's your go-to craft service item when you're on set?
Oh, snap. I'm a hamburger guy. You give me a hamburger with nothing on it, French fries, and a milkshake, I'm in hog heaven. All right. I'm just as simple as pancakes and a glass of milk. Uh, peanut butter jelly, I'm in. I'm a very simplistic individual. Vanilla is a good word to put it. I'm not into much spices and things like that. My wife, she loves every spice under the earth, but me, it's got to be plain, dry, boring.
Do you enjoy going to the movie theater?
Not as much because everything can be Prime Video and you can watch Netflix, so there's no need to. In fact, I just watched Maverick 2 or 3 weeks ago because it came out, whatever date it was. I bought it and watched it. I didn't go to the film. Now my wife and her niece went to it, but I didn't go to it. I just waited till I could sit back and watch it at the TV at home.
So you prefer streaming?
Simplistically, it's great. The films, though, I really should see them. Like even the Maverick, as good as it is on the silver screen at home, I can imagine on the big, 40-foot screen in the theater with the sound effects and stuff. But you know what? It's become so easily done streaming or just spending the $3.99, or Maverick was, I think, $20 to buy it, if I recall correctly. It's just, why not?
Of all the new roles that you've kind of taken on recently, which one is your favorite? Whether it's something from Vengeance, playing Elias, or 13th Fanboy.
Well, I think 13 Fanboy was a pleasure because of it being a mainstream film rather than a fan film. And the nice thing is, I get to work with Dee Wallace and Deborah Voorhees and Corey Feldman and Laura Park Lincoln and all these principal actors that have been around for a while and just have a resume as long as my arm. So again, for me, coming out of the casino industry, retiring, and then get to step on, a set with those folks, what an honor. And 13 Fanboy came out well received. It came out in November of last year. In fact, I'll see Deborah Voorhees in a couple of weeks at a convention in South Dakota, if I recall correctly. We get a chance to put her film up and be there to answer questions about it. And you mentioned Vengeance. I did Vengeance 1 and Vengeance 2. Vengeance 2 comes out October 28th. It's a fan film, very well shot. And though it may be a fan film, with today's technology of cameras, editing, it's Top Gun the way it's going to come out. No pun intended. But I got an opportunity to play Elias Voorhees. And the cool thing about that is I grew a beard for 5 months, long stringy hair. And since Elias has never been seen on a screen, even though Tom McLaughlin from Part 6 was interested in somewhat of an introduction to him, even though I've only done it in the 2 fan films, in theory, I kind of own it because nobody else has done it in any type of film. So the fans are just in awe because I do score off with a gentleman named Jason Brooks. We're same height, etc. And it's kind of dad telling Jason what to do, and Jason kind of being a resilient teenager towards dad. And so it has some pivotal high points. And I do think part two will be well received. I think part one was done okay, but being their first time, I think they learned the tricks of the trade much more.
So CJ, you know this, but you don't know this. But this interview was done a year ago. It was
Right.
supposed to come out a year ago, but didn't because lazy. Shh. But we're gonna pretend like Vengeance 2 hadn't come out yet,
Right.
even though it did, and we'll go through the interview that way. So Vengeance 2, big deal. I think it's gonna be great. I haven't seen it yet. I'm really excited because you're taking on more roles and actually like roles that involve dialogue and speaking roles, which is different for you because all the roles you've taken in the past have been like the silent type, so to speak. How does it feel doing something that's bigger and having dialogue? And it's cool because you're actually working with Tom McLaughlin in this movie, which is kind of neat. And you guys have some scenes together. So could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, Tom and I were interacting pretty good because as Elias, obviously it's a speaking role, but it's still a very powerful role. And some of the questionnaires of spiritual, bringing somebody back from the dead, kind of going back to the Frankenstein concept, is how Daddy is working with Jason to bring mommy back. And so it should be interesting to see how it's received when it busts out. I do believe the first weekend or the first week of October, they're doing a premiere in, I believe, Seattle, Washington. However, the actual 28th was the date I was told by Jason Brooks of October for the actual to go out. It'll go through YouTube and out, and then of course it'll be where he'll be having the DVDs to put out in the market.
I thought Jason Brooks was an excellent Jason. I think he did really, really well. And I think he's going to do a great job directing this movie as well. What was it like working with Jason on set?
Pretty easy for me. Again, I'm not, I don't own anything, so to speak, and honored, for me to come in and assist to give somebody else a leg up. The name J.Graham and Jason part 6 carries to give just, part 1, Steve Dash was in it, you may recall, and he played the sheriff, and he makes a comment about being the real Jason, and those that know him will get a little kick out of that. But the opportunities to see them now, this one coming up, Darcy DeMoss is in it, Tom McLaughlin is in it, of course I'm in it, and then a few other cameos that I won't say too much about because they will be shockers. And there might even be some 1986 Jason flavors reappear.
So you got all these surprises that are going to end up popping up in the movie. Are you going to sit back during the premiere and kind of just like watch the chat and see these people lose their minds or what?
Depending on when it is, the 28th is a weekend, which is the end of the month, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's Thursday or Friday. And I do have events that weekend at convention, of course. I can't make the premiere the first weekend of October. It's actually Wednesday, October 2nd, I believe. But that weekend I'm doing a convention somewhere, so I can't be in two places at once. So I won't be able to attend that. I'm happy for them. I did my job. I can pat myself on the back if it's successful. And for Jason, for them, for the folks who are engaged in it, if it's well received, it'll be a nice stepping stone. I mean, you got to remember Steven Spielberg and all these big shots. To be fair, they weren't big shots when they started. And of course, Jason Brooks bleeds and breathes Friday the 13th and being a producer and director. So you never know. One day he may get a shot with a production company doing something, and you just don't know who's going to call you to do a part one day.
So were you approached to do Freddy vs. Jason? Because I heard a rumor that you were approached. Was that true?
Yeah, I know people kind of giggle, but I was contacted to see if I had an interest in it. And to be quite honest, I knew King was supposed to do it, then I knew he didn't get it. But I was a chief operating officer, general manager of 2 casino resorts, $1 billion worth of properties and give or take 2,400 employees. I wasn't going to quit a job making X to go shoot a movie to make, $10 basically. It wasn't logical. So I passed on the interest. But I've been fortunate. Like I said, part 6 was mine. I was entertaining for 7. Freddy versus Jason was, they were spoken to me about it. So you never know what'll happen in the future. I mean, I'm still a big guy. I'm just older. So as long as I don't have to fall down too hard, I'm okay.
Just make sure they put down plenty of mats for you.
Yeah, lots of mats, okay? Lots. But I do know when we did 13 Fanboy, I had a huge fight scene at the end. And, I was flying through the air and onto beds and springs and rolling around on the side of a mountain and, tumbling and yada yada. But I will tell you, I got some big ass bruises from that. And I was like, nah, I'm too old to do this shit.
13 fanboy. So, hey, what was Deborah Sue Voorhees like as a director?
She's a friggin' amazing. When you get a chance to interview her, talk about Friday the 13th, the production, the writing. And don't forget, put it in your little notes. Don't forget she was a Playboy bunny. So yeah, put it down.
Was she really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No, listen, I was vice president of gaming operations at the Palms in Las Vegas. In 2006, we opened up the first Playboy Club in 25 years. So I had the pleasure of going down to the Playboy Mansion and doing the interviews to get girls that we then put through school to become dealers on Roulette and 21 in the Playboy Club. So it was interesting. And knowing that, that's when I found out Deborah had told me, "Did you remember I was a bunny?" I said, "No way." And so, yeah, if you look her up, Playboy Bunny, just put Deborah Voorhees, Playboy Bunny, and it will pop up. So now you got a little insight to, but she's a wonderful lady. She really knew what she was doing on set. She was very supportive of everybody. I mean, working with like Dee Wallace and thus, she was good to work with. She really let you develop the character. She gave you a few guidelines and then she's the action.
Yeah, you know what? I've actually talked to her on Facebook Messenger, and she's just been really supportive and very sweet and very knowledgeable in a lot of different things with film, not just acting, but like directing. And she really does. I saw 13 Fanboy, and she really directs the shit out of that movie. And I actually interviewed her, and I think she's great. I think she's very talented. I really want to see more work from her.
Yeah, I think next weekend I'll be with her. If I'm thinking correctly, it's South Dakota will be at, and I know that we're premiering, not premiering, but they're gonna show 13 Fanboy, give everybody an opportunity to speak about it.
So let's talk about 13 Fanboy. I saw it. I think it's an amazing film. Deborah Voorhees, she directs the shit out of that movie, and you're amazing in it as well. I was kind of just shocked at how many like Friday the 13th alumni are in this movie. It's just kind of like mind blowing.
And others, Corey Feldman, yes, but when you start talking about Dee from Cujo and E.T. and all the stuff that she's done historical, and you start going through some of the other characters, but you are right about the 13 folks. But the concept 13 Fanboy is really a really simple format of a convention and events that happen at a convention with those that are signing autographs. So I really find it, simple and right to the point. Anybody that's ever been to a convention, Comic Con or whatever, will relate to 13 Fanboy.
I really feel like movies like 13 Fanboy are really kind of scary. Like they're actually really frightening if you think about it, because stuff like that happens today. It can happen and it does happen.
Yeah, I stopped selling machetes on my table after that.
When you go to these conventions, do you see a lot of people like Tom Savini or Kane?
As far as
Just like, when you're going, because I don't go to a lot of conventions, but like, and that's something I want to change, by the way. But like, do you see them like? Is it a thing where it's like every time you go to a convention, it's like the same people, or do they change it up, or what?
I see everybody from Alice Cooper to Lou Ferrigno, to Kane to Tom Savini, conservatively once a year, which is kind of nice. And I don't do a lot of conventions, but I do some of the principal ones. But to get to see those, and interesting for me again, humbly looking to my left, and I got Alice Cooper next to me signing autographs, and next to him is the Fonz. I just kind of go, okay, this is no, and across is the Karate Kids, and here comes Lou Ferrigno, and you kind of just go, wow, this is amazing. I get to brush, elbows. I go overseas, and I get to, talk with with Lee Majors and his wife, which you kind of just go, wow. I mean, I'm a hockey mask guy. So I always know my place, so to speak, in the pecking order, but it is an honor to meet all of them firsthand and see them as an individual.
So He's Back, The Man Behind the Mask, was a music video that came out with Friday Part 6, which I thought was a great music video.
and you're in that video. What was it like working with Alice Cooper? What was it like working on a music video?
You know, an interesting thing is I was in the military 48 years ago, so it gives you kind of a broad stroke of how old I am. But my very first concert at 16 years old was Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare. So I had no idea, give or take 15 years later, I'd be on a opportunity to work with him, and or even to today put wardrobe on at a convention and do photo ops with the fans with Alice Cooper. So you just don't know. Like I said, it's been an amazing ride for me. Very humbly appreciative to be part of it, unexpected, and I had no idea. Again, 3 decades later, we've been having this conversation. So I just, sometimes you get lucky, and it's not a matter of qualifications, or you get lucky. And when you do get lucky, like I said earlier, make sure you produce, otherwise they will reduce. And I was fortunate enough, I feel that we did a good job of producing a good character.
CJ, I'm sorry, there's something wrong with the video feed. Grandma, is everything okay? Oh, God. This is embarrassing. This is the first show. Grandma, can you please get your shit together for 1 second here? I'm not asking for much. I'm just asking for...
Whoa!
Hey!
Oh, my God.
Hey!
Well, the
what's going on?
fuck is... Wait a minute. Hold on, Graham Cracker. Will, what is this asshole doing on... You don't talk to me anymore.
Tom, whoa. Chill. Boys. Come on.
Oh, bullshit.
It's Thanksgiving.
Bullshit. Why do I have to be the guy? It's like I'm the guy in the
No,
corner.
whoa.
Dance.
Chill.
It's like,
Relax.
no other
this
guy
is the
wants
first
to dance
episode.
with me, and I'm standing there, I've
I'll
gone
dance
through
with
this,
you.
man.
I got my manhood in place. I'll dance with you.
Tom, listen, this is a perfect explanation for all of this, correct? We were going to call you. Me and CJ were actually going to call you
Don't put me
right
in
after
lies.
this.
I'm honorable. I don't know nothing about it, Mr. Tom.
CJ, 2 words. Kane Hodder.
Who?
Kane Hodder.
Never
Next,
heard of him.
Tom McLaughlin, Jason movie. Don't interrupt when I'm
Like
talking
that.
to this
Where
asshole.
do you get
okay?
off saying something like
You
that?
wanna work?
This is my
I'll
show,
give you a
not
job,
your
man.
show. And
I
this
did
is
it before, I'll
CJ.
do it
He's my
again.
guest, not you.
I
How
love
dare
you,
you
but-
come in here and fucking just break up the show like that?
Oh, your guest. You own this guy now? Is that what it is?
You're supposed to be a director and you come in firing that shit? You know what? Forget it. We were going to give you 10%. No more. It's gone. It's going to CJ.
Ouch.
How much is that?
You're right. 10% of 20 million is a good deal. So if it's only $2, forget about it. But
Okay, forget everything I said. Peace. I'm good. Show me the money.
CJ, didn't you have something you wanted to show Tom? Tom, check this out. You're going to like this.
Tom, you know how sometimes we do conventions and folks make us things?
Yep.
I wanted to see if you can see this. This is a grave. Can you see it? I mean, it's very granular, very detailed.
Yes.
And it's got Jason in it, but when you push the button, it lights
I know.
up. Is that rad?
I have seen that. This guy's incredible. For whatever reason, because I'm still calming down from the adrenaline of yelling at Will here. Oh God, what's his name? He's in Florida. He literally drove all the way out here and brought me one that he did of me as, the rock and roll guy in the leathers in an alley with rats and all this shit. I mean, guy's amazing, but that's like a tour de force, yours with all the details. It's just incredible.
He's great. And, Will, you may not realize, you've heard of the Sloths? That's
Yeah, I remember
Tom's
them.
band.
Yeah,
And,
they were good ones.
I like to rag on him a little bit because it is true. He had his band back in the late 60s down there on Hollywood Boulevard,
Yeah.
and disbanded it, went into the industry, and he's got that band back together. Just for the record, my wife has one of his t-shirts and wears it all the time.
Well, I'm looking for this guy's name because I feel so embarrassed that I can't remember his name because I'm old, and that's the first thing that goes is the mind. Stay young, guys, forever teenage. That's the answer. No, is it Brandon? No, it's not Brandon. I'll find it. But anyway, yeah, no, I was back on the Sunset Strip last night. Actually, I did Alice Cooper's Poison with a group of musicians that all came together for Dee Snider's son, Jesse, who has a band. And I mean, it was weird because you've met Dee at some of the conventions, have you? Dee Snider from Twisted
Yeah.
Sister.
Yeah,
I
he's a
mean,
great guy. He
he's
always,
got a 40-year-old son. It's just bizarre to me.
yeah, he is. The shows I've done with him, he's amazing. I remember one time he and I and Derek Mears were at the airport, and like he said, hey, if you ever need a crash pad in Las Vegas, I got a crash pad there because he's got a pit stop there. Just I assume it's an apartment. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, he's what a wonderful person. What a great musician.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So many of those guys. It's great that there's rock and roll guys doing the horror conventions too, because it's, to me, it's one and the same.
True.
So, Tommy, Mr. McLaughlin, sir, is there anything that you can disclose to me and Mr. C.J. Graham about a possible new Friday the 13th movie? Jason Never Dies, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Well, for one, the big news is that C.J. Graham is back in the movie. You know, they worked out their differences, and amazing what a little bit of money does. You know, well, we're all still in that same position. You know, Sean owns that, the Masked Jason, and somehow the writer, Victor Miller, he has something that Sean needs. I mean, they need each other still to be able to release this stuff worldwide. And Victor has, of course, you know, Mrs. Voorhees and young Jason, and I think the camp. I think I could be wrong about that. And I thought it was the title Friday the 13th, but I think Warner Brothers or New Line, or you can't copyright a title. I've heard so many stories. I don't know what's true, but Victor can't release anything that he does overseas without Sean's blessing. So not these guys, but their lawyers are the ones sitting there, you know, with the guns out. And it's like, I want this. Well, I want this. And I guess it's a question of how much it's going to cost to even get one of these things going. If the prices are so high just going in, I don't know. And there was like rumors that went flying around the last couple of weeks that Sean made an announcement and he denied that like 2 days ago. And then there was a whole thing too about, was it not Victor himself, but somebody that was in that camp of his, that they were saying something, you know, going to happen very soon. And right now, I think it's somehow fans are getting in there and putting together all the people who want to do it, you know, into like I think it's on IMDb. It lists all these guys, you know, that are going to be involved. And yet, you know, when I spoke to a couple of them, it's like, no, I don't know anything about that. So we don't know where it's at. But, you know, I'm continuing to push on with, you know, both of these films, because to me, they're both very different and something that the fans have never seen and hopefully, you know, would make a difference. I don't know if they're going to do the first one out of the gate, do something completely different, or if they're going to go, well, maybe you forgot how he was. So here's a remake of the first one, or here's, you know, part 13, a continuation of where we left off. But so much shit's happened with Jason over these years that, you know, you know, Jason Never Dies is literally 13 years, 1999, because I wanted to stay in that period. I wanted to stay at Crystal Lake, and he's still hanging down there until this particular event resurrects him. And it's a very expensive sequence. So it's not something, you know, I could do as a fan film or any of that. And then the whole thing too is having girls that had no idea about this place being what it was, the history. It's been 13 years. So it's kind of, you know, gone back to Crystal Lake again. People figured, oh, what the hell, you know, didn't work before with the forest green. Let's go back to what it was. And it kind of plays out as, instead of what we did on Jason Lives, where they were very savvy to what the place was and the Jason rumors and all that. These girls have no clue what this guy who's been underwater for 13 years and comes up and is raging and has an agenda, has a particular agenda. Again, so that the story kind of keeps you going, wait a minute, what does he want? Why is he doing it like that? So it's different.
It's freaking awesome. CJ, have you seen a script for this yet?
No, Tom's got it under wraps, but I know he's spoken fragmented about it on his podcast here and there, just sporadically. He did send me a picture of the mask underwater, which I looked at and then I deleted. And he goes, "Well, you don't have to do that," but I didn't want it to come out of my phone that it was accidentally leaked to anybody. So I like what he did with it. I like the colors, and he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And the conversation that we had, and the conversation was like I had mentioned to you, Will, the physicality aspect of it. Tom and I aren't spring chickens anymore. I mean, we look good, but we ain't spring chickens. Okay, we have filters on our cameras right now, so we looking like young, like 20 years younger.
We're fall chickens. Fall chickens are
exactly.
we
So
could fall at any time.
it wouldn't get back up. You heard me say earlier, I used to tuck and roll. Now I hit the ground, I go thump, and I lay there and wiggle my toes, fingers, and make sure I'm working. But I still got to have somebody help me get up.
Yeah. I don't believe it, but okay, yeah.
Well, you know what? I will tell you, and Will, you asked earlier about 13 Fanboy. After several hours on a hillside fighting at 2 o'clock in the morning with a younger band, after a while they had to help me up. I said, no, here, I need a hand. Both of you guys pull me up. There's too much dead weight here trying to get up. I can't keep getting up off the ground every time I get thrown. So I made them help me up because it was getting tough about 3 in the morning.
It is not easy. Yeah. I had such a respect for actors after Mick Garris put me in Critters 2 and woke me up at 3 in the morning. I was in a, one of those little cubbies in like what do they call that thing? The honey wagon, tiny little room. I had the heat up, so I was passed out and kind of enjoying being warm. And it's like, we're ready for you, Mr. McLaughlin, and go out and it's freezing. And I have to lay on the cold, hard ground and pretend I'm dead with the effects and keeping my eyes open. And my body is like shaking like crazy. So every time they said rolling, I just took a big, deep breath and tried to hold it. And I kept going, I love you, actors. I love you. I know how difficult this is to, go from 0 to 60, and it's tough. And to recreate something over and over and over in scenes, it's not, like setting up a grip stand or, can you bring a chair over here? It's an amazing imaginary world that you have to dive into as an actor.
Now, Tom, you've gone on record saying that because of CJ's background in the military, that he could kind of just like take direction like a pro. He's just like, he's never been on set before, but he just knew how to jump into it. No complaints, nothing.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, give or take, I'm going to say 4 in the morning, forced me to get out of the pool when I was 20 feet underwater because the safety divers had small suits on, which helps a little bit of warmth. I just had wardrobe. And there became a point where they were getting very cold and Tom kept, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm okay. And there came a point where he said, "We got to get this done," because I wasn't about to cave in, but I do remember him concerned about me at that point because I'm okay. But knowing safety divers are complaining and these guys are, safety divers, they've got I believe it was a 1/4 inch suits on to help them with their warmth. And I've just got wardrobe on. I think at a point he said, "I got to get them out. I'm done," because I wasn't going to concede. That's just not in my vocabulary. So,
yeah, that military training, boy,
CJ, was it cold shooting that?
Yeah.
It comes with the territory. You never shoot unless it's really cold. And there's no outdoor heaters, and that's mandatory low budget.
And I don't know if he recalls, but there was at an Olympic sized pool like that, they have the showers outside. So once I was released, I went over there, even though that shower wasn't that warm, it was warmer than the water. I was under that for quite a while trying to bring my body temperature back up before I headed over to the motor home that Tom had given me for that ending shooting. And I wanted to be real quiet because when I went in there, I had told all of the transportation people they could come in my motorhome and sleep. So I'm going through real quietly down that little aisle because there's people crashed in there. But Tom had given me that big old motorhome at the Griffin Park, I believe it was. And I think everybody got a honey wagon, but he just happened to have a motorhome and he gave it to me for some reason. And I'll always remember him just saying, "Give it to CJ." So I got the motorhome.
Yeah. Well, I was always that guy, like your underwater thing. I was in the bear suit in the movie Prophecy, And I know what it's like to run through fire, in a rubber suit, and then just hear, can somebody put the bear out? The bear's on fire. Can you put the bear out? And so, the fire extinguishers at my feet. I couldn't see, but to hear. And the same thing, I had to go underwater and supposedly come up as the bear, but once you go under, it's rubber. So guess what happens with the water? So now that suit weighs like, 800 pounds, and I'm going, somebody want to help the bear get up?
Yeah.
So, if you've been in the trenches, you truly appreciate your actors. You know what it's like.
Did that happen to you on Friday 6? Did your prosthetics, I'm assuming they were made out of foam, that as soon as you hit the pole, did they just kind of fill with water and weigh you down?
No, I mean, the head was no big thing. The chain is real. I mean, when you see that chain, it's real. And Tom had somebody, or maybe Michael Nomad did, put 2 center blocks down on the ground. So every time I go to the surface and do this little camera thing, and Tom would tell me this, that, they would just physically take me back down and put me under 2 center blocks and hook the chain on. So the chain kept me down just like weights. That was the object, so I wouldn't float.
Yeah.
And the headpiece wasn't that heavy because at that point you're underwater, but the rest of you is down quite a bit. You got to, your equilibrium, you got to plug your nose. But I will say, they did a great job. Every time I'd signal for air, they'd shove that regulator in my mouth and clear it for me because I couldn't see anything. It's pitch black. And, you're looking at a hockey mask, you don't see nothing. All I could see is a couple feet, and I could feel the other actor or the stunt man in front of me when I was shaking them and blowing bubbles out. So it was really kind of individualized how we did that.
Yeah, you really learn a lot about the force when you do these things, because you cannot see, you cannot smell, you cannot hear. So somehow you just find it with the force where you're supposed to be.
So while I have the two of you, I thought I'd be really interested. Do you guys have any stories where you really bonded on Friday 6? Something interesting that you maybe have never told anybody before?
Well, that strip joint we went to that night was, we really had to stay together on that because we had only $1, I guess $2 between us that we had to keep tearing in half to give the girls. And I remember that was pretty embarrassing because we were acting like we're these big stars. And other than that, that's hardest thing.
And I'm going to take the Fifth Amendment on that one because
okay, he's a happily married man.
We were very blessed in those days. Phones didn't exist because I can only imagine something stupid that somebody did that would be conceived or possibly inappropriate in today's elements. But Tom and I have developed a relationship over the years. At the time, I'm working for my boss. He's the general, and all I saw was marching orders. And then over the years, I've got the opportunity to see him at conventions and talk to him on a frequent, where I can call him at home and have a conversation any given day. We do shows together periodically. We both, I think, just booked one in Texas next year. I think it's May 6th, if I recall. Mm-hmm. Tom Matthews and Tom and I will be at a comic book store together for a day. So I do get the opportunity to see him. Like I was saying, Tom Matthews and I were just together 3 weeks ago doing an event. So that's the blessing, how the friendships have developed over the years. And I'm going to assume, and it's an assumption on my part, that we had no idea 3 decades later we'd still be talking about this to this magnitude.
I know. 36 years, actually, it's been. And I guess part of this is the fact that the movie became far more successful than we ever dreamed in a million years. I mean, I've told the story 1,000 times that I thought this thing was going to open, maybe get a second week, and then aliens would continue to kick its ass into obscurity. And I was also afraid that the fans weren't going to like it because of the humor and kind of my take on it. And the exact opposite happened, much to all of our shock, that it's become, so beloved, and it somehow doesn't age. I keep meeting people, and I'm sure CJ far more than I have, who just seen it for the first time and are all excited about it because it just seems to be still kind of like timeless in what the story is and the kind of humor that we were doing and stuff. So yeah, and we all, I mean, Darcy and Tom Fridley, I mean, all of us, it's like a family, which I know you hear that cliche, but usually you have the family, you make the movie, maybe you still stay in touch for, a month and then never see those people again. But yeah, we're really part of each other's lives, which is amazing and wonderful.
Gentlemen, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I want to thank you for being on the show. CJ, thank you for everything you've done, giving me nightmares throughout the years. It's Jason Voorhees. Tom, same thing, for being an inspiration to me, as you know. And I want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving or happy holidays. And I hope to talk to you both very soon. Thank you for coming on the show.
And to all the turkeys out there, including us three, have a great one.
Hey, enjoy movie night with you, Will. I appreciate you, and safe holidays, everybody.
Thanks. Gosh, J.Graham, what a class act that guy is. And Tom, thank you. Even though you're being a prick, thank you for very much for kind of crashing my show. I love you, Tom. Seriously, I love you. Guys, when we come back, we're going to have a very nice talk, and I'll see you then. Hey! Welcome back. Gosh, I hope we had some fun together. This has been very fun. I've missed this, and I hope you've missed it too. And hey, how about that J.Graham guy? Man, he was a heck of a guy. Really class act there. And thank you to Tom McLaughlin for crashing this show. It's been very fun. You made the first episode back an amazing one. So, gosh, it's been great to be here. I want to let you guys know, look, I know here at Movie Night, we don't have the biggest audience, and we're hoping to change that. We're going to grow. We're going to start off small and grow up to where we were, which was, pretty good. And we're going to have some different segments on the show. We're going to try different things and see how, throw enough shit against the wall, we'll see what sticks. But I want to talk to you a little about what happened. And I feel like I owe it to the people who watch the show and are fans of the show, all three of you. This is going to be called a segment that Ellie Mueller of Weeknight Update created for me called The Director's Take. I feel like I'm just promoting other people's show on this show. It seems like I don't know. Look, folks, if you're creative, maybe you're not creative. Depression hits everybody. And whether you're creative or maybe you're not creative and you're just, the average Joe, you're not really in the industry. When you're in an industry where it's like filmmaking, there's a lot of rejection, but there's a lot of rejection in life. So it's very easy to get depressed. And I'm going to be real with you guys. Movie night has been a passion of mine for a while. It's something I came up with in film school. Didn't have any money to do it. I had a very specific goal and a very specific way to do this that nobody else was doing on YouTube at the time. And when I actually got the money to kind of measly put together a small show, everybody and their mother was doing it and doing it better than me. And it made me wonder, why even try? I'm not funny. I'm not good looking. I don't have the best of the best gear. And I have nobody really here to help me out. And I got depressed. And I did the show when I was, quarantined during COVID. And the show did pretty good. A lot of people really liked it. And then after that, I took a day job, and kind of just didn't have time for this. And I've kind of come back to it because I really enjoyed it. And we've shot some episodes. Trust me, we've shot about 6 episodes since the last one you saw. And they just felt forced. They weren't good. But now I'm ready to kind of go back at it anew. I really feel like, the people who really enjoyed this show have missed it. Every week I would get at least 3 messages from different people who have loved the show, who really liked it. And I'm really glad that they reached out and said, hey, where's that shitty, mediocre show that you put on? So I'm doing it now. And I just want to tell you that if you suffer from depression or even suicidal tendencies, seek help. Depression can come in and sneak in through the back door when you least expect it and really derail you. And, it's good to have goals. It's good to have dreams. But in a world where there's a lot of negativity, you can kind of lose sight of those goals. What's the point? Don't do that. Movie night, I know there's a stigma going around it. People are thinking it's just about film. It's just about actors. It's just about directors. It's not. I want it to be all about art. I want musicians. I want artists. I want sculptors. I want filmmakers, actors. I want composers. I want everybody on this show. Big, small, Spielberg, we'd love you have you on here. But we also want the neighborhood guy who's just starting out and getting a camcorder and making stuff. I want to see what you're doing. And I know where there's a lot of competition and an industry where there's a lot of no's. There's a lot more no's than yeses, trust me.
Been there, done that, bought that t-shirt. I want to tell you to keep going. Now, who the hell am I? I'm a nobody. But I'm just like you. I'm just the guy that likes to create. And that's why I always tell you guys, keep being creative. Because it is important. Because, and like I said, in a world where there's a lot of negativity, the one thing you create might change your life. But not just your life. Might change the life of somebody who just saw it. Just listened to your song. Saw your art in a local kind of competition. It was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Keep being creative. And share that creativity with me. Whether it's a short film you've just directed or a feature, send it to me. Send me your CDs. Invite me out to local screenings of your movies if you live in Delaware. Or hey, if you're playing music, have me come out and check you out. Send me your songs. And don't forget, we do have a competition with Millsboro Music. Send me the music that you make, and we'll give you that golden ticket to go get a ukulele if you win. So folks, I want to thank you for watching. Be careful and keep being creative. Next week, please tune in. We have a great actor, Jeffrey Wiseman, on the program. And then tune in for the rest of the season. I think you'll be pretty impressed with some of the guys and gals that we have on here. And I hope to have you on here. Keep being creative. This is
Thanks very much. No photographs. I'm meant to be in a wheelchair. Before we start, I have to go through a checklist with you. Oh, you're a man.
Big giant set like the Truman Show. But as you can see behind me, we've got some sort of low-budget production happening. I'm not sure what it's about. It looks like they may be filming the famous magician comedian Chips Mooney. You ever hear of him? No? Google him. I think he's right up your alley.
Yeah, I stopped selling machetes on my table after that.